In episode 6, Commander Lawrence lets June know that phase 2 of Commander Waterford's plan to get Nicole back is to head to DC and make some more propaganda films, so they're going to borrow her. While on the train to DC, as June looks outside, she notices that they turned the Washington Monument from the Washington Monument into a cross, and this kind of disgusts her in a way. But when she arrives at the train station, she's told by Aunt Lydia that they don't fool around in the Capitol. You have to stick strictly to the rules, and she's noticing that a lot of the handmaids that are walking around have their mouths covered. When they arrive up the escalator, Aunt Lydia tells her to go into a circle and wait for the commander. And she goes into this circle with about 3 to 4 other handmaids and is kind of isolated. Eventually, though, Commander Waterford with Mrs. Waterford and Martha arrive. And Rita and June are talking about what the hell's going on, but also she can't believe that Mrs. Waterford is going along with this. But she has no idea because she hasn't had a chance to talk to her. Now, everyone's going to be staying at a DC commander's residence. His name's Commander Winslow. And when the family arrives, Commander Winslow kind of makes it known that this wasn't his idea to host the Waterfords. It was his wives. As Commander Winslow and Commander Waterford are talking about how delicate this situation is and how important one image is, all of a sudden his kids come into the room. And yes, I did say kids because there's about 5 to 6 of them. This takes everybody aback. When the Martha and June head up to bed, they both mention to each other that they've never seen this many kids in one residence before. And Rita says the most I've ever seen is about 3. But 6 is ridiculous. Now, June will be rooming with the handmaid in the household. And when the handmaid enters the room, June starts trying to make small talk, but the handmaid isn't answering back. Doesn't stop June, though. She keeps persisting with the small talk, and the handmaid still isn't answering back. And finally, June looks over and makes eye contact with her and sees that the reason she had her mouth covered is because they've had their mouths sewn shut. And this truly horrifies June. The next day, June heads with the commander and Mrs. Waterford and Aunt Lydia to go make more propaganda films, and even Aunt Lydia notices the girls with their mouths sewn shut, and she doesn't seem to be a big fan of this. As Commander Waterford is going through exactly how they're going to film this and what shots he wants, Nick the driver shows up. Nick the commander shows up. Now, Commander Waterford knows that Nick the driver is baby Nicole's real father, so he has Nick the driver stand in his place along with June and Mrs. Waterford to get the, quote, right shot. Nick also tells Commander Waterford that he'll be leaving for Chicago in the front lines any day now, and that's why he is in DC. He's literally just waiting for the order. Commander Waterford lets June know that when she kneels, all the handmaids will kneel in unison with her, and that's a pretty important feature of this propaganda film, even though June is disgusted by it and doesn't want to have anything to do with it. When they get back to the Winslow household, June is finally able to get a one-on-one with Serena, and she's pleading with her to not do this. But to her dismay, Serena is in on it. Serena says, seeing that baby changed everything for me. And June says, yeah, it changed everything for you, but it didn't change everything for baby Nicole, because she's still better off in Canada and not in Gilead. June is pleading with her to make this right and just go with what they agreed to keep baby Nicole in Canada. But it seems like Serena has made up her mind, and they're interrupted by Commander Waterford, who lets them know that the Swiss will be mediating negotiations to get baby Nicole back to Gilead. The Swiss interview the Waterfords, and as they're exiting down the stairs, they ask if they can interview June. The Waterfords have no problem with this because they think that they're going to be in the room, but the Swiss make it clear they don't want them in the room. They want to interview June one-on-one, and this leaves June with a massive smile on her face, because she'll actually be able to tell the Swiss where baby Nicole should be. Right before she gets up to go to the interview, Serena sits down next to her and says, don't do anything stupid. But June gets up, gives Commander Waterford a look, and heads right into the interview with the Swiss. In the interview, June makes it very clear that I am the baby's mother, neither of the Waterfords are related to baby Nicole, and I want this baby in Canada. And the Swiss make it very clear that Gilead is very powerful, they have a large army, and Canada is not ready to go to war over baby Nicole. So June says, what do you guys need? And the Swiss say, Gilead has been a black box. We have no idea how it operates. We also know that you got a tape to your husband in Canada saying that Nick is the father of baby Nicole. So June says, all right, if I bring you Nick and he answers your questions, can you guarantee me that Nicole will stay in Canada? And they shake on it. After this meeting with the Swiss, Commander Waterford and Commander Winslow are playing pool, and Commander Winslow makes it known that he thought that Commander Waterford was weak. He had preconceived notions about him, but getting this meeting with the Swiss and getting one step closer to getting baby Nicole back has shown that he can be a huge asset, and maybe he can be a huge asset here in DC. And this would be a huge promotion for Commander Waterford. Now, somehow that night, June is able to get a message to Nick. And Nick and June meet up outside of the Winslow household And after the initial kissing, she explains that he needs to meet with the Swiss to keep baby Nicole in Canada. Nick doesn't want to do it. He says that the Swiss have their own agenda. This is governments we're talking about. It's not that simple. But June says, you're going to the front lines. This is probably the only chance you have to act like a father to our daughter by going and meeting with the Swiss. He reluctantly agrees to do so. And the next day, he has that meeting with the Swiss. But June is in the dark because she's not in the meeting. So when the Swiss show up at the Winslow household and let it be known that their recommendation is to continue mediation, this throws June for a loop. She is pissed off. And June says, well, what did he not do? What did Nick not do? And the woman says, I don't think you know who Nick is. Our data shows this guy can't be trusted. After the woman leaves, June asks Serena, what did Nick do before becoming a driver for you guys? Serena tells her that he was a soldier in the Crusades, and this is the first time that June is hearing this. She had no idea that he fought for that side. She knew that he worked for him, obviously, but he doesn't fit the criteria, and she's shocked. The next day, June gets ready to film this propaganda movie, and Aunt Lydia comes and says, hey, there's one more thing before you put on your clothes. I'm going to need you to cover your mouth. June asks Aunt Lydia, do you agree with this? Do you think we should be silenced? And Aunt Lydia admits, no, I don't. And she's actually crying about this. At the end of this bonding experience, she asks Aunt Lydia if she can help her put on the mouth cover, and Aunt Lydia does, and they head off to film. And they're heading off to the Lincoln Memorial, which has been vandalized. Lincoln's head's cut off. The whole thing has been kind of destroyed. And while she's looking shocked at this famous memorial, Serena shows up and they start in with the insults. And Serena says, we're going to be away from each other pretty soon. We'll be in D.C. and you'll be back near Boston and we won't have to deal with each other. And June says, you're never going to get rid of me. Until both of my children are safe, you're never getting rid of me. June says, I trusted you to get her out, and Serena says, well, I trusted you to stay with her. And this bickering goes back and forth and gets pretty nasty. June gets particularly nasty when she says, you're incapable of love. You created this world. You have no idea what love is. You built this world so you could have somebody, and even that didn't work. You're small, you're cruel, and you're empty, and you're always going to be empty. Serena says, I should have put a ring in that mouth the day that we met you, and June says, I should have let you burn when I had the chance. But the bickering has to stop because now it's finally time to film. And the commander starts off with this ridiculous prayer vigil where June is supposed to kneel down, but she doesn't. All of the handmaids are looking at her, waiting for their cue, and eventually she does, but it's her little tiny fuck you to this whole thing.